Welcome back. The soda industry now attempting to reverse declining sales numbers as many Americans consider the health impact of diet sodas.
Yep, and now Diet Coke is out with an ad campaign claiming that its artificial sweetener aspartame is safe. But nutritionists, they say that safety really was never the issue. Dr. Ernest Patti, he's the senior attending physician of emergency medicine at St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx, and he joins us to let us know, safe or not?
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Greg, for having me. Safe or not, I'd have to say it's still unknown whether they're safe over the long-term use during your lifetime. You know, I mean, let's look at historically. Historically, sugar was a treat given to us either at dessert or at special occasions. You'd go to the soda shop and you'd have a Coca-Cola or some other type of treat with your friends or neighbors. Today, sugar has become such a large part of our diet that we're looking for alternatives and substitutes to decrease the amount of calories that we get both in our beverages and in our foods.
All right, so Coca-Cola undertaking a campaign to say, wait a minute, aspartame, NutraSweet, it's okay, it doesn't hurt you.
You know, does anybody really know? I mean, history has shown us in the past that whenever we've developed something artificial, many times, years later, we find out side effects or other things that we couldn't plan on in the manufacture of these things. Right. So, you know, why can't we still use sugar but in decreasing quantities and in less regular amounts?
Yeah, nutritionists are coming out and they're saying that safety was never really the issue anyway. So what was the main issue? The unknowns that you're speaking of?
The unknowns. One study that I read showed that some of the artificial sweeteners actually trigger a mechanism in your body to make you crave that artificial sweetener.
Really?
I would believe that.
And this is an unknown mechanism that still hasn't been fully developed yet, you know? I mean, people have been eating natural sugar for years. Yeah. In South America, that artificial sweetener that we use called stevia,
right,
that one has been around for hundreds of years and it's produced from a plant. So, you know, maybe they need to look at natural alternatives a little better. Yeah. But in my book, we should just decrease the amount we take in on a regular basis.
Well, you know my wife, she's addicted to chocolate, right? She just
Same here.
But stevia is interesting because it's natural, it's organic. Any downside to that?
Well, from my own information that I have, being it's plant-based, I'd have to say there's really less of a very little downside. It's plant-based.
It's natural.
It's natural.
Plant-based.
You know, anything that we cook up in the lab, some of them are wonderful products, but we still don't know 10, 20 years from now what a large amount of it in your body is going to do to you.
So how does all of this tie into the obesity rates in America?
Well, first of all, we have to look at where we're putting our sugar and our sugar substitutes. Sports drinks are a notoriously high source of sugar and artificial sweeteners. Look at one of the largest groups that drink those beverages, children. When they're playing sports or they're going to the football, basketball, baseball games, they're drinking large quantities of sports drinks, which have artificial sweeteners in them. Who knows what large quantities of that do to their smaller bodies?
Yeah. The American Cancer Society said there's no link to cancer associated with aspartame. They don't know, do they?
My feeling is no one can really be very certain on that, Greg. You know, having had issues with that myself over the years, you know, it's one never really knows where you got it from.
You just don't know yet.
You just don't know.
Dr. Ernest Patti, St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx.
Thank
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Common sense. That's
and
what
moderation.
And moderation.
Yes.
Very good.
All right.
Well, there is new hope for treating diabetes, which affects millions of Americans. Scientists made a breakthrough discovery having to do with a certain protein. Bringing in now Dr. Ernest Patti. He's a senior attending physician of emergency medicine at St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx. Good to see you, Dr. Patti.
Thanks for having me.
So I understand that the doctors, the researchers discovered what's called a rogue virus.
Well, they found this rogue protein.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because what they've found is that this protein basically sort of short circuits our ability to use insulin properly. You know, the body produces insulin,
right,
which is supposed to pick up all the sugar and the simple carbohydrates and bring them to the different organs and muscles and cells in your body to use it for an energy.
Right.
In diabetes, you know, you either have a production of defective insulin or you have a production of not enough insulin. Now, the exciting thing is they discovered this rogue protein, which they didn't know was there before, which actually impairs the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. And if they could figure out a way to short circuit this protein, then maybe they can have better treatment, more effective treatment for diabetes.
So you just said if they could figure out a way to short circuit it, so they're not there yet.
They're not there yet, but just by figuring out which protein this is and seeing its effect, what this protein does, it's called thorodoxine, or TXNIP. Forgive my pronunciation of it, I may have said it wrong. But the TXNIP protein, what that does is it causes the beta cells to actually sort of commit suicide and not produce insulin. Beta cells are the cells in the pancreas that are responsible for insulin production. And the other feedback mechanism that it does is it tells the beta cells to not produce enough insulin when it realizes that there's higher levels of sugar in the blood. And that's part of the problem with diabetes. You have high blood sugar.
So then, right, and so then if you can block this rogue protein, that would be a good thing. How far away are we from that happening? And when you get there, because we'll be hopeful that it's going to happen, is this going to be beneficial for all diabetes patients? You've got the type 1, the type 2. Does it mean you're not going to get diabetes, or just better treatment?
Well, from what I've read, it seems like this treatment, when they get there, they're not quite there yet, but when they get there, they're going to be able to help treat both type 1 and type 2. You know, the problem with this protein is it releases free radicals, and these free radicals are things that you might have read about in the media recently. They're implicated in a number of different disease processes, and the free radicals are what go to the cells in the pancreas and cause these malfunctions to occur. So if they can figure out how to stop this rogue protein, they'll definitely have better diabetes treatment. Some people develop diabetes due to their genetic and hereditary factors, but others develop it later in life. The type 2 diabetics from our sedentary lifestyle, not enough exercise, poor diet choices, and high, processed food and sugar in the diet. Those folks, just by doing common sense things today, can be affected quickly.
Well, you know what? I wish the doctors would start prescribing people to lose weight.
I tell you, maybe we should start writing prescriptions for losing weight.
Serious. Like
but
I'm saying, this doctor's orders, you need to lose weight first.
Well, some of my colleagues also have to follow their own advice. We have to practice what we preach.
Oh boy. Hey, we want to give the guys over at University of Alabama at Birmingham some props, because they're the ones who discovered this rogue protein.
Definitely. It's great work, and more research is needed, but they should really keep on top of it.
Definitely.
It's a worldwide problem, diabetes.
Yeah. Dr. Ernest Patti, thank you very much. Good to see you on this Monday.
Thanks so much for having me.